There are two types of debts in this world. Those you can pay back with money, and those you pay with something far more precious. 12 years working collections. 12 years of threats, tears, and excuses. The desperate pleas become white noise after a while. My wife has cancer. My house burned down. I just need until Friday. But when you've been doing this as long as I have, you develop a sixth sense for lies, like the metallic taste of blood in your mouth. In this case, this one tasted different. Warren Blackwood took out a personal loan of $175,000 6 months ago for what he called medical expenses. Never missed a payment until 5 weeks back. Then nothing. No calls returned. Certified letters sent back unopened. No social media activity. Just vanished. My supervisor, Jenkins, was rabid about this one. "Jack," he'd snarled that morning, slamming Warren's file onto my desk, coffee sloshing over the rim of his mug and seeping into the carpet. "This is your last chance. Get this money by the end of the week or clean out your desk." His breath reeked of stale cigarettes and desperation. The same desperation that kept us all chained to this godforsaken job. So there I was, driving to Warren's address in the Pinewood district as darkness fell. The clouds hung low and heavy, pregnant with rain that refused to fall, like the whole sky was holding its breath. These old Victorian houses always unsettled me at night. Once beautiful homes, now carved into cheap apartments, their ornate facades crumbling like rotting teeth in a corpse's smile. As I pulled up to 1247 Blackwater Lane, something felt wrong. The house seemed rejected by its surroundings, like reality itself was trying to push it away. The streetlight above it flickered erratically, while all others remained steadily glowing. The neighboring homes had warm lights in their windows. This one was a black void with peeling paint that resembled flayed skin in the half-light. I checked the address again, apartment 7B, top floor. The front door was unlocked, swinging open with a groan that sounded almost human. The smell hit me immediately, musty decay overlaid with something chemical and sweet, like formaldehyde mixed with overripe fruit. The building's interior was silent except for the distant drip of a leaking pipe somewhere in the walls. The elevator had an out-of-order sign hanging from a single strip of yellowed tape. Of course, I took the stairs, my footsteps echoing in the stairwell despite my attempt to tread lightly. By the time I reached the 7th floor, my shirt was sticking to my back with cold sweat that had nothing to do with the climb. The hallway stretched before me, the floral wallpaper peeling away to reveal black mold spreading like bruises across the plaster. Apartment 7B was at the end, the only door without a welcome mat or any sign of human habitation. Unlike the other doors, which were painted uniform beige, this one was a deep crimson that looked almost wet in the dim lighting, like it had been freshly painted in something thicker than paint. I knocked, the sound unnaturally muffled, as if the door were absorbing the vibrations. No answer. I knocked harder, my knuckles stinging against the wood. "Mr. Blackwood, Pinnacle Financial Services. We need to discuss your outstanding balance." Something shifted inside, a scraping sound like furniture being dragged across hardwood floors, followed by a soft thud and what sounded like breaking glass. "Warren Blackwood," I called out, professional veneer intact but hard hammering against my ribs. "I know you're in there. We can work something out, but you need to communicate with us." Then I heard it breathing, right on the other side of the door. Heavy, wet breathing with a rattling undercurrent, like someone drowning from the inside. "I can hear you, Mr. Blackwood." The breathing stopped. A long, endless moment of silence. Then a voice, barely audible. "Go away." The voice wasn't right. It sounded like it was being forced through a throat full of liquid, the words bubbling and distorted. Beneath it was a secondary voice, lower in pitch, speaking a split second later like a grotesque echo. "I'm not leaving until we discuss your payment options," I said, pulling out my tablet with its familiar collection software. "I'm authorized to offer several solutions, but we need to. There's no Warren anymore." My skin prickled, ice spreading through my veins despite the hallway stuffiness. I should have left, should have marked the account as resident unable to pay, and dealt with Jenkins's wrath. But I needed this commission. My daughter's college tuition was due, and Carol's medical bills were piling up faster than I could juggle them. "Listen," I said, trying to sound authoritative despite the tremor in my voice. "I don't care what you're calling yourself these days. The debt follows you, not your name." A long silence stretched between us. Then came the sound of locks turning. Not one or two, but 7 distinct clicks, each one heavier than the last. The door opened a crack, revealing nothing but darkness within. A security chain remained fastened across the gap, glinting dully in the hallway's sickly yellow light. An eye appeared in the darkness. The iris was so dilated that the pupil consumed almost all color, leaving only a thin rim of jaundiced yellow. The white was webbed with burst capillaries, forming a crimson lattice across the yellowed surface. "You want payment?" The voice whispered, clearer now but still wrong, still layered with that second, deeper voice that spoke a fraction of a second later, creating a nauseating echo effect. "That's right, $175,000, plus late fees and penalties, totaling $14,327.50. A soft laugh from behind the door, like the sound of sandpaper on wet stone. "Coming then. I'll pay." The chain slid back with a scrape that made my teeth ache. The door opened wider, releasing a wave of cold, fetid air. I've been in hundreds of debtors' homes, seen all kinds of squalor, cockroach infestations, hoarder conditions, the aftermath of overdoses and suicides. But this was different. The apartment was mostly dark, illuminated only by dozens of candles that seemed to burn with an unnatural bluish flame. The walls were covered not just with writing, but with intricate symbols that hurt my eyes to look at directly, drawn in a substance that glistened wetly in the candlelight. The silhouette of the man who had opened the door stepped back, gesturing for me to enter with a hand that had too many joints. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but 12 years in this job had taught me to suppress my humanity. Follow the script, get the money, meet the quota. I stepped inside. The door closed behind me with a soft click and the sound of 7 locks re-engaging. "Could we get some proper light in here?" I asked, fighting to keep my voice professional. "No light," the figure whispered. "Light reveals. Light burns. Light judges." My eyes were adjusting to the gloom. The apartment was a studio, one large room with a kitchenette and bathroom off to one side. All furniture had been pushed against the walls except for a single wooden chair in the center of the room and a large antique trunk beside it. The ceiling was covered with the same symbols as the walls, but these appeared to be moving slightly, shifting when I wasn't looking directly at them. "Mr. Blackwood," I said, clutching my tablet like a shield. "About your payment options." "I told you," the voice said, suddenly much closer though I hadn't seen him move. "There's no Warren anymore. Warren paid his debt." Something warm and wet dripped onto my shoulder. I looked up instinctively and immediately wished I hadn't. The ceiling directly above me was breathing, pulsing slightly, a dark stain spreading across it like spilled wine soaking through fabric. I jerked away, fumbling with my tablet to activate its flashlight. The screen illuminated the room for a brief moment before glitching and shutting down completely. But that moment was enough. The writing on the walls wasn't writing at all, but thousands of names, each followed by figure dollar amounts. And they were moving, the names slithering across the surface like living things, rearranging themselves continuously. And the figure before me, it had Warren's face from his driver's license photo in our system, but twisted. His skin was a waxy gray white, stretched too tightly over facial bones that had rearranged themselves into something only approximating human proportions. His eyes were massive, yellowed orbs that protruded slightly from their sockets. Black veins pulsed visibly beneath his transparent skin, carrying something too dark and thick to be blood. But worst of all was his mouth. It stretched far too wide across his face, lined with needle-like teeth that seemed to be growing even as I watched, pushing older teeth out onto his purple tongue, where they clattered into a pile on the floor. "What happened to you?" I whispered, my back pressed against the door, searching blindly for the handle with trembling fingers. I needed money, not Warren said, his jaw unhinging slightly to accommodate his growing teeth. For my daughter, leukemia, expensive treatment, insurance denied. His spasming throat made each word sound like it was being strangled out of him. They offered a solution. Special terms. Very reasonable interest rate. He smiled, his face splitting even wider, revealing rows of teeth extending now into his cheeks. They didn't specify exactly what collateral they'd claim if I missed a payment. They? Who's they? My hand found the doorknob. Locked, of course. Warren tilted his head at an angle that snapped something in his neck with an audible crack. The collectors. The true collectors. He stepped closer, moving with a jerky, insect-like gait. I found a way out. A loophole in the contract. I can transfer my debt. The candles throughout the room suddenly flared brighter, their flames stretching toward the ceiling like grasping fingers. You see, Warren continued, his voice deepening, resonating from somewhere below his visible form, they'll release me from my obligation if I provide a substitute. The shadows in the corners of the room began to move independently, stretching toward me like tendrils of black smoke. The air grew heavy with the smell of sulfur and copper. I don't want to do this, Warren whispered, and for a moment, genuine anguish flashed across that inhuman face. I tried animals first, strays, then homeless people no one would miss. But it needs to be someone connected to the dead, someone from a company. The shadows reached my feet, ice cold as they wrapped around my ankles like living shackles. Where they touched, my skin blistered and blackened. It's just business, I gasped through the pain, echoing what I'd told countless desperate people over the years. Nothing personal, just following procedure. Warren's face contorted into a rictus grin that literally tore the skin at the corners of his mouth. That's exactly what they said when they took my first payment. An inch of spine, then my left kidney, then my daughter's soul. The shadows surged up my body, constricting like pythons, squeezing the air from my lungs. I could feel them probing, searching for entry points, nostrils, ears, mouth. The interest compounds hourly, Warren said, his voice now completely inhuman, resonating from the walls themselves. And they never, ever forgive a debt. As darkness filled my mouth and nose, forcing its way into my body, I heard Warren's final words. Your debt is due, collector. I woke up in my car the next morning, parked outside my office building with no memory of how I got there. My shirt was clean. My tablet was on the passenger seat, powered on and displaying Warren Blackwood's account. Paid in full, account closed. I quit that day, told Jenkins where he could shove his quotas, found a job selling insurance 2 states away. Carol was furious about the pay cut, but some things are worth more than money. But it doesn't matter how far I run. Sometimes, in reflective surfaces, windows, mirrors, the black screen of my phone, I see something moving behind my face. Something with yellow eyes and too many teeth. Every morning, I wake to find new names written on my bathroom mirror in condensation that shouldn't be there. Names and dollar amounts. A growing list. My skin has started to change. Patches turning waxy and gray. I'm losing hair. My teeth ache constantly. Last week I received a job offer by mail. No return address. No company name. Just a business card that read Senior Collections Specialist in raised black lettering that felt damp to the touch. The salary offer was enough to pay off our house, Carol's medical bills, and Sarah's entire college education. I'm thinking of accepting. Not because I want to, because now I understand what Warren knew. Some debts can't be settled by bankruptcy. Some collectors won't be denied. The thing behind my eyes is getting stronger. I feel it moving inside me when I sleep. And I've started to get hungry for something money can't buy. Your debt is always due. The only question is, who will pay? Dear listener, thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Many more terrifying, mysterious, and thrilling stories are coming soon. See you again very soon.